Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday Town Hall for Certified Physician Assistant Consulting. So, welcome. Hopefully, you are having a great week. Looks like both platforms are coming on live, Instagram and Facebook. So it's at CPAC Team on Instagram and Certified Physician Assistant Consulting on Facebook. So, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully, you are already a member of our Town Hall community. If you're not, please email team at Certified PA Consulting. Actually, there is now a link on our website, certifiedpaconsulting.com, and you can actually join the Town Hall community. It's free, and you can send in your questions. Every single Tuesday, I answer questions for free. I spend 30 minutes here, and I think I can see the questions both on Instagram and Facebook. So if you have anything new, go ahead and write them in. But the best way is to send them ahead of time, because then I make sure I read them. And if there's a lot of questions that come in on the same topic, then I will make sure I address those. So hopefully, it looks like Instagram, they're all going on live, but I think they're both live right now. So happy Tuesday. I'm Kasey D'Amato, president of Certified PA Consulting. We have been around since 2009, for those who don't know us, and we are experts on PA salaries, negotiation strategies, terms of the contract, career transitions and career accelerations, including transitioning to non-clinical, as well as business startup and business coaching. So if you need help in any of those areas, please email us, team at Certified PA Consulting. You're welcome to send me a personal message on Facebook or Instagram as well at Kasey D'Amato, and I will do my best to get on there and answer or point you in the right direction. We have lots of free resources. So don't forget to take advantage of the free resources, free guides on our website. There are two there now, Success Guide and Negotiation Guide. We will have more guides coming out on the website, as well as our Tuesday town halls, which are staying on the Facebook page. And we just started a YouTube page as well. So we've had everything on there for why salary reports are only one tool, how to estimate your calculations if you don't get collection reports, personal budgeting on a PA salary, navigating the world of non-competes, dealing with office conflict, and how to deal with competition or conflict in the workplace. So any of those topics we've already talked about. Scroll down the feed and you can see the prior Facebook Lives on all of those, or hop on over to our YouTube channel, certifiedphysicianassistant.com on YouTube, and you can scroll through those topics as well. So today we are talking about why some PAs can generate well over $1 million in collections, and why some PAs struggle to generate even 300,000 in collections. And we're also talking about how to avoid job hopping. So let's start with the first one, and let's talk about some key bullet points as to why some PAs generate. And I know there's a lot of PA students getting ready to graduate, and they're not sure how to understand all this chatter about business and numbers. Don't sweat it if you're a new grad. This is just something to be aware of, but don't hyper focus on it. Learn your clinical skills and take care of your patients. Just kind of be aware that as you develop your clinical skills, you also want to start to develop your business skills. So for those of you with more experience and you're wondering how in the world are some PAs generating over $1 million in their specialty, in their practice, in their facility, working full-time, we're talking full-time here, and why are some PAs struggling to generate even more than 300,000? So let's talk about some of the factors. And really there's really four main factors when we're talking about collection ranges and what determines the collection ranges. The first one, and probably the biggest one, is procedures. Procedures are reimbursed at a higher rate than office visits, even if you're dealing with a complex sick patient, which is why some hospital facilities and some larger facilities incorporate RVUs, relative value units, and things like that. Because traditionally, insurance companies will pay more for the actual procedure, the hands-on procedure. Even if it's not super complex, it's still going to be reimbursed at a higher rate. So therefore, PAs and physicians and nurse practitioners, all medical providers who are working in specialties that do a lot of hands-on procedures will generate a lot more for their practice or for the facility. And typically, those are going to be the providers that are going to generate $1 million, $1.5 million, or more. That's probably getting more into the physician realm and surgical realm, but it's not super uncommon to see PAs in any of the specialties that do a lot of procedures. So we're talking about surgery, talking about ortho, we're talking about derm, in some cases ER, in some cases urgent care. So any of the specialties where you're doing a lot of procedures, that's where you can generate the most revenue. What does that mean? That means that more money is coming into the practice, which sometimes, not always, sometimes can equate to higher salaries, not always. So that's number one, is the number of procedures. Procedures are reimbursed higher. So that's how some PAs are able to generate well over 1 million. The second factor is hours worked or patient volume. So one physician assistant might be considered full time at, let's say, 32 or 34 or 36 hours per week. And other physician assistants may work 40 or 50 hours, in some case, even as much as 60 hours per week. So, what is considered full time is a big range. So, it's not uncommon for full time to be 32, 34, 36 hours. It's not always exactly a 40-hour work week. And it's also not uncommon for full time to be 45 or even 50 hours. And what does that mean? That can mean more patient volume, but it doesn't always. That comes back to specialty again. So, depending on what specialty a PA is practicing in, will determine the patient volume. Why? Because some specialties, a patient of office visits or the patient encounter might be as short as 7 or 8 minutes. And in some other specialties, the patient encounter will be close to a full hour, and in some cases, even more than an hour. So that will vastly change the amount of patient volume. So in some specialties, in some settings, it's appropriate for a full-time PA to see maybe 8 to 10 patients per day, and that is max. And in other specialties, it's not uncommon for a PA to see 40 or 50 patients per day or per shift. So that's the second factor. So the first one that determines the collection range is the amount of procedures. The second that determines collection range is the hours. The third is patient volume. The fourth, and the fourth and fifth are kind of combined. There's really five big factors. The fourth is staff support. And this is everything from the front desk to really who's with the PA the whole time, their whole day with every patient encounter. The more support, whether that's a nurse, a medical assistant, a scribe, whoever it is, another human being helping you get through your day will increase efficiency, right? Will increase patient volume, will increase the amount of procedures you can do safely in a period of time. So, of course, what's appropriate for patient care, obviously. So, that those are the things that help with patient volume. So, if you're looking within the same specialty, why are some PAs and some practices able to accommodate a lot more patients per day? And sometimes that has to do with what I call bullet point number 4, which is staff support. Staff support. And the last one, which sort of piggybacks on staff support, is overall practice or facility efficiency. So that's from the front desk, the check in process, if there is physical paperwork versus EMR, iPads, how are people checking in? Is the paperwork processed ahead of time before the patient even arrives at that facility or practice? Then is it already entered in the EMR? Are they ready to go? How quickly do they get into the exam room? How many exam rooms are allocated for that PA? Is it just 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 or more? And once you're in the room, is there a scribe? Is there someone cleaning the room, turning it over, scribing in the EMR for the PA, and then checking that patient out, taking the copay, setting up their follow-up appointment, all in a very streamlined process with very little downtime. Those are the facilities and the practices where high volume is really supported because there's a lot of efficiency within the process in the practice, not just personally on the PA, but the entire practice and facility operates incredibly efficiently. So those are the big 5 factors that determine if a PA will generate well over $1 million in collections versus struggle to get to 300,000. So to refresh, the 5 points are procedures. Procedural based medicine typically is reimbursed higher. The hours worked per week, there's a big variation in different roles. So that the amount of hours, patient volume, staff support, and overall practice facility. Those are the big 5 factors that come into play when you're thinking about a PA and what their collection ranges will be, depending on specialty, and even within the specialty, depending on the other factors, even within the same specialty. So I wanted to knock that one out because there's a big range, which also reflects on the salary side of things. So I wanted to talk about why is there a big range, which was why it sometimes reflects on salaries as well. Okay. So, the other topic I wanted to talk about today is how to avoid job hopping. And this is really relevant as we're getting into graduation season for PA students, but even for practicing PAs. How do you avoid job hopping? Because the last thing you want on your resume is a job every 6 months or every year. And then all of a sudden, when you go to interview, the hiring manager is starting to think, why are you job hopping? Is there something wrong with you? Was it truly the practice? What's going on with the situation? So I have my notes here. I don't want to forget any points. So the couple of big points to really avoid job hopping is to define your goals for your career way before you start looking for a new job. So you may be getting ready to graduate, or you might be in a practice or a facility and you're thinking, I don't think I really like it here. And then what do you do first? Instinctually, you start looking at job boards. But the reality is that's not the best thing to do, because when you're looking at job boards, you're sort of hunting for that holy grail and that perfect job to present itself. Before you do that, if you are either getting ready to graduate or you're thinking, I'm not really loving where I am right now, I think I need to start thinking about a change. Before you even look at a single job board, sit down and write down all of the factors that you would describe in the perfect role for you as a PA, because everybody's different. So, what's perfect for you is not perfect for somebody else, and define what's perfect for you. And then you can go out and look, or you can start to create jobs. You can start to cold call and things like that, but define what is perfect for you before you start looking, because otherwise you're going to get distracted by all the shiny objects on the job board, and you could potentially jump into another one and then realize 6 months or 9 months down the road you're not happy there either, because you truly have not defined exactly what it's looking for in your role, from the clinical skills, from the patients per day, from the staff support, to the ability to do things outside of practice, get involved in the PA organizations, get involved with other work-life balance things. What do you want to do? Do you want to maximize your salary, which is going to probably be those things I just talked about in the prior message, related to collections, and are you ready to work those amount of hours, not amount of procedures and things like that? So make sure you really understand what you want before you look at all. So that's number one. Number two, define your short and long term goals. So sometimes, especially for new grads, your short term goal is probably get a job. That's probably your short. We've all been there. So we understand, those of us that are experienced PAs, we get it, we understand. So that's your short term goal. And you might compromise a little bit on some things. You might compromise on the specialty. You might compromise on the commute. You might compromise on hours or salary. Whatever it is, you define how long you're going to commit to that job for 1 year or 2 years. That's a minimum. And during that time, you're going to define your goals for what you're going to look for in the next job. Don't look at a job board until you know what you want, what you truly want, because then when you're looking at the boards, you can come back and compare to your list and see if it really matches. Otherwise, you're going to keep looking at job boards and go, oh, maybe I could like that one, or maybe I could like that one. Maybe I should apply to that one. And before you know it, you're going to get in there and not like it. So you want to, when you have a clean slate and a clean mind, define what you want and then compare the job boards and the opportunities to your list that you made when there was no distractions tempting. There was no temptation island of jobs, and you can come back and you can assess what you want. So first, define your goals. Second, define what your perfect job. Second, define your short term and long term, because in some cases you might take a short term compromise. Maybe you're going to move in a year. Maybe a significant other is going to finish a program or something like that. So maybe you're going to compromise a little bit short term to then get to the long term plan, and that's okay. Just know consciously what your game plan is, so that you're controlling your destiny rather than letting the job board or letting the universe control it for you. Okay, I got to look at my notes. Sorry, guys. Okay, Number three, make sure you are objectively measuring your goal. So let's say you have a personal goal of saving up to buy for a down payment on a house or something like that. And so maybe you accept a position because it has a high salary. Maybe the hours aren't great, and maybe it's not necessarily the specialty you want, but you know that you have the ability to make money. Let's say it's ER, and you know you have the ability to pick up more shifts. So you have the ability to make more. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of hours, but your goal is to save up for this down payment for a house. Well, how much do you want to save and then what period of time? And then measure the progress so that you don't get burnt out. So, whether it's a personal goal or maybe it's a professional goal, maybe you want to learn some type of clinical skill and you know that this one facility will train and maybe the salary is just but you know that you're going to learn a clinical skill that it's really valuable to you to know that skill. Well, then you might compromise a little bit and think, well, I'm going to maybe do this for a year or 2 years because that's the minimum. You don't want less than that on your resume. And then after that, I'm going to measure, do I feel proficient in this skill? And then, plan a professional exit and move on. So that's another really important one is to measure along the way. If you're going to compromise at all, or when you know what your target goal is professionally and personally, measure every few months, measure, are you getting closer to that goal? The reason that you took this job, are you getting closer to the goals and the reasons why, either personal goal or professional goal? Okay, the next one, which is number four, exit when you know what you want, if it's not where you are, and why you want it. When you can recognize what you want, not what you don't want, not that the current practice is what you don't want, but when you truly can identify what you do want from your career and why do you want that? Do you want to contribute more? So you want to do something that has more flexible hours so that you can teach part-time at a PA program? Or do you want to go somewhere that has a higher salary, even though it's going to be more hours or more procedures, a little bit more stress, but you know what, because you want to save for that down payment for the house, you know why. Plan your exit when you know why you want something and you know what you want and why you want it. Don't plan your exit just because you don't like where you're at. So make sure you know where you're going, not just where you're running away from. Okay, that's really important one. And lastly, make sure that your goals and the practices goals for you align. And we talk a lot about that in our Master the Boss Mindset Negotiation Masterclass. So if you haven't heard about it, we only hold this class live twice a year. It's coming up March 2nd to March 11th. I put it on Facebook so you can see on the sticker the dates, March 2nd to March 11th. And we go through all of these things in deep dive detail. It's Tuesday, Thursday nights for 2 weeks. And the sessions are about an hour and a half long. You get a 24-page workbook, and we go deep dive into generating collections, how to measure your cost to practice. We go through how to bring more value to practice. There's 4 modules. The first one is how to determine your goals. So if everything I'm talking about today seems like, what? I don't know how to determine my goals. We spend an entire module just on determining your goals because that's how you reach success. The second module, all about your numbers and collections and calculating them on napkin math, calculating your cost to practice, how to objectively determine if a practice or facility can afford to pay you more before you have the conversation to ask for more. Because if they can't afford it, then that's going to be difficult negotiation. So we teach you how to anticipate if they could even afford to pay you more. We teach you how to run the actual math, actual calculation in module 2. In module 3, we talk about how to bring extra value, how to differentiate yourself. So when you're interviewing, how to separate yourself out, or when you are renegotiating an existing role, how do you really show the practice value so you can differentiate yourself? And while there's a range that might be appropriate salary, you want to get to that top end of the range. So we teach you how to do that. And the last module, we talk about elements of a contract that can trap you. So there are certain terms of a contract that can be sneaky little traps that can cost you a lot of money or a lot of time or a lot of heartache. They can really restrict you. Some cases you end up having to pay the practice back if you leave. There's all sorts of nuances in the contract. and we teach you elements of a contract to look out for, and maybe have an attorney review or whatever. But we've been looking at contracts and salary structures and terms of contracts for well over a decade, and we will teach you what to look for. So if you haven't registered, take advantage, because normally the class is $600 to $1,000 depending on what tier, and right now it's $169 to $399 only if you want a private session with me at $399, which is normally $350. So you get a private session and the 6-hour class with a 24-page workbook and a private Facebook lives, private sessions with Q&A just with the people in the class. So if you are uncomfortable negotiating, make sure you take advantage of it. It's coming up soon. Registration is filling up. We have to limit seats because we can't accommodate everybody, because we want it to be intimate. So make sure you take advantage of the discounted prices right now. We only do it twice a year live. So I promise you that 24-page workbook will carry you your entire career, everything they don't teach you in PA school about negotiating. So go to Certified PA Consulting /masterclass, and you can register now. So hopefully you got good insight today on why PAs generate some over $1 million and some struggle for 300,000, and also how to avoid job hopping. Don't forget, scroll through Certified Physician Assistant page on Facebook, and you can see all the Facebook Live, the Tuesday town halls, Facebook Lives, from all the prior topics, which have been why salary reports are only one tool, how to estimate your collections, how to avoid office conflict, personal budgeting on a PA salary. We've talked about navigating the world of non-compete. So go check those out to make sure. Don't forget also, Wednesday night, tomorrow night, is the free webinar, 2021 Salary Trends for PAs. This is an 8-week free webinar series that we're doing right now, the business of being a PA. Take advantage. We already did student loans and salaries last week. Tomorrow is 2021 salary trends. We're talking about OTP, some other kind of professional changes that are going on, and how that's going to affect salaries. Or is it? You'll find out tomorrow night. So make sure you've registered for the free webinar so you get the Zoom link for that. And if you have not signed up for the negotiation class and you're uncomfortable negotiating, sign up. It is well worth it. It is not that expensive. $169 for the silver level, $199 is gold. You get a small group Q&A with me, and then $399 you get a personal coaching session with me, as well as the class with a 24-page workbook. All you need to know about negotiating, it will carry you your whole life. So take advantage, because the class is March 2nd through 11th, Tuesday, Thursday nights, for 2 weeks, an hour and a half each class. So do not miss it. You will regret it when it comes time to negotiate in a couple months. And the class is and the recorded, and it's $600. So take it now while it's live. All right, everybody, have a wonderful Tuesday. Send in your questions. Join the town hall community. Send your questions in so that I can answer your questions on next week's Tuesday, 12:30 East Coast every week. I am here live. So live on Instagram at CPAC Team and Certified PA Consulting on Facebook. So make sure you send your questions in so I can answer your questions as well. Take advantage of the free resources. I hope to see you tomorrow night on the webinar. And I really hope you invest in yourself for the masterclass, because that will eliminate so much confusion you have about how to negotiate your salary as a PA. www.certifiedpaconsulting.com/masterclass. And any questions you have, or if you need private coaching one-on-one, just email team@Certified PA Consulting. It's on Facebook on the bottom of the page. All right, everybody. Hope to see you soon. Send me a DM if you have any questions at Kasey D'Amato. We'll see you soon. I hope you're getting a lot of value out of all of our free resources, and we will see you next week on Tuesday's Town Hall Live.